are now listening to the Rapport Podcast Network.
Is it time for the Oklahoma Sooners to move on from Jackson Arnold at quarterback? I don't think so, and I'll give you my reasons here on the Sooner Spotlight. Hello, Sooner Nation, and welcome into another episode of the Sooner Spotlight. Very excited to get into this one because this is something that's been flooding social media. If you go on X at all, then you have seen this topic popping up all over the place, even on Facebook and Instagram, wherever else you look for your Oklahoma Sooners content. The comments are constantly attacking one player and only one player. And I think that's kind of ridiculous, and that's why I wanted to come here to talk to you guys about it. But first, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Help us keep on growing. If you've already subscribed, if you would, just help us out by hitting that share button and share it on social media. Share this podcast with a friend, with another Sooner friend of yours. We want to keep on growing this podcast so we can keep on going with it. But talking about Jackson Arnold, let's get into it, because to me, it seems a little crazy that we're sitting here talking about getting rid of Jackson Arnold, that we are blaming a loss on solely one player and really based off of one play. And the main reason that I have seen is because of the fumble that turned into a touchdown. Now, I want to make this, set the record straight. Jackson Arnold did turn the ball over twice. He had two fumbles. The first fumble was one that, man, I really can't blame anybody when they have the ball punched out from behind. But at the same time, you do have to blame the player and say you've got to hold on to the ball. Both times, Jackson Arnold should not have fumbled the ball. The first time, the defense made a huge stand and forced the Missouri offense to sit there and stall out, and they had to punt the ball away from midfield. So a great play by the defense saved Jackson Arnold on the first one. And I recognize that you still have to blame him. You still have to say, hey, that's still unacceptable. And I'm right there with you. The second fumble at the end of the game when we needed the most, and most of us probably felt like we should have just gone into overtime and try our luck into overtime. But Jackson Arnold runs out of the pocket a little too soon. I said this from the get-go. I think that he should have stayed in the pocket a little bit longer because the offensive line was actually performing well in that situation anyways, that night. Now, they were allowing a lot of pressure all night and got him uncomfortable. He felt like he had to leave the pocket a little too soon, stepped into a sack that turned into a fumble, which turned into a scoop and score. So that's what people blame Jackson Arnold for, and solely because of that play. Now, I understand where you're coming from, but he only allowed 7 points off of his turnovers, off of the two turnovers, and I understand both turnovers are bad, and I'm not excusing turnovers for anything. I'm not excusing him for fumbling the ball and giving up a score. None of that. I think it is unacceptable for a quarterback to turn the ball over once, let alone twice, and let alone on top of that, let one of those turn into an immediate touchdown. That's a terrible thing. But are we going to blame a game solely off of that 7 points when there was 23 other points scored that really had nothing to do with Jackson Arnold being on the field or off the field? Now, that's where this all comes down to. Now, in the South Carolina game, really up until the South Carolina game, everyone kept on saying how Michael Hawkins was the guy that should have been in, and good thing we put him in. But then, of course, the South Carolina game, and I was one of them that still defended Jackson Arnold to the point that he doesn't make stupid decisions as far as passing the ball very often. Now, it does happen, but it happens with every quarterback. Go pick on Quinn Ewers. Go pick on Carson Beck. Go pick even on Jackson Dart with the amazing season that he's having. He still puts the ball in bad positions multiple times throughout a single game that he shouldn't. And so we can pick on any quarterback for putting the ball in a bad position, but Jackson Arnold really hasn't thrown very many interceptions. He has not thrown the ball into harm's way very often this season, only throwing 3 interceptions this season. So as far as throwing the ball, Jackson Arnold is and always has been the better option. He is better at getting the ball downfield. Now, is he able to see the field No, not very well. He hasn't been able to make decisions very well. When he does make quick decisions, he's efficient. When he does, look at the field and take his time, he's able to find an open guy. When he has to take time, the offensive line doesn't give him enough time. That's my point with Jackson Arnold. So is Jackson Arnold the reason why this offense is performing so bad? And specifically, we look back at this Missouri game. Is he the reason why we lost in that Missouri game? And I'm going to tell you flat out no. He wasn't. Do I think we need to look for other options at quarterback? Not really. I don't know where else we go. Casey Thompson was a name that's been thrown out. Why don't we put him on the field? I'm open for trying him out. Why not? Because at this point in the season, I really don't think it matters. And Casey Thompson is done with his career. And I don't think he really came to Oklahoma specifically to play. I think he has been ready and open to playing, but I don't think he came to Oklahoma to play. And I guarantee you he would tell you the same thing. I haven't heard it from his mouth, but I know that he came here to learn and to become a coach. Now, when it comes down to this game plan, if it wasn't Jackson Arnold's fault, then whose fault is it? I will tell you right now, I know exactly whose fault this is, and it all leans on just the coaching in general, because I can't really blame it just on the offensive coordinators. I can't blame it just on the offensive coaches. I can't blame it just on one singular player in this game. I think the overall, whoever it was that was putting a game plan together for this game against Missouri got it wrong. Now, we had several carries that, there was technically 36 carries. And what that is taking into effect is a lot of those plays where Jackson Arnold took off to go run when it was actually a pass play. Those I'm not counting. Now, what I'm looking at on the offensive game plan and seeing that we have two top running backs for this game, two running backs that were running pretty efficiently overall, one of them running over 6 yards per carry in Xavier Robinson, two freshman running backs that have something to prove, and we only gave them the ball a total of 17 times. That is one of the things that I blame for this loss against Missouri. Now, does that have anything to do with Jackson Arnold? Absolutely not. How about the times that Jackson Arnold got pressured? The offensive line did perform better, but there was still an implosion on the right side of the offensive line, specifically around Spencer Brown. So if you really want to look at one player, I felt like he was one guy that kept on allowing a lot of pressure from the right side of the line. And so, yeah, the offensive line did better this game, but they still didn't perform well. They still didn't look good. How about the fact that we give Bauer Sharp the ball on a tight end screen behind the line of scrimmage, or we give Bauer Sharp the ball on a tight end sweep, trying to use his speed to get to the outside when he is not a speedy guy. He's not a guy that obtains this skill of speed. He's not known for that, and he's not ever going to be known as a guy that's just such a fast guy that can set the edge and get around the edge and turn it upfield and turn it into a big chunk play. That's not how you use a tight end. That's not how you use Bauer Sharp, but that's how this offensive coaching staff was using Bauer Sharp against Missouri in ways that just didn't make sense. You know how you do use Bauer Sharp, and how Bauer Sharp has proven time and time again that he is a good and effective piece of this offense? When you put him over the middle of the field, when you use him as an escape route in the middle of the field. We've seen that time and time again throughout the season. We've seen that time and time again when Jackson Arnold doesn't have anywhere to go. He's got that tight end in Bauer Sharp, and even Jake Roberts has been a guy that he's been able to look at that is able to just sit down in the middle of the field in a soft spot of the defense and be that open guy. That's how you use a tight end. And that's not how we have used him. We saw that, honestly, in the fake punt. That is how you use a tight end to, again, he's coming across in the middle of the field, kind of going down that middle seam there. That is how you use a tight end, and that's not how we used Bauer Sharp. We tried to use him on sweep plays. We tried to use him on screen plays. That is not how you use him. How often did we have Deion Burks come across on a drag route or even a quick hitch? Where he's able to be shifty and make it look like he's going to go deep and then come back. How many times did we try to put him deep across the middle of the field? How many times did we have him come across on maybe a slant route or even out on a dig route? We didn't use Deion Burks at all. So again, whose fault is that? Is that Jackson Arnold's fault for Deion Burks not being used properly throughout that game? only getting the ball 5 times, which is a reasonable amount of times, I suppose, if you had a receiving corps that was deep enough and was performing well enough, but that's not the case. Or the fact that Jalil Farouk only got the ball 2 times. And one of those times was really Jackson Arnold going to make a play with his legs and keeping his eyes downfield, and found him for a quick and easy reception out there on the outside, and really nothing after that. My point is, there are so many other reasons that we can look at everything else around this, specifically or surrounding the offense. Another one that doesn't go just on Joe John Finley, it also goes on Brent Venables. For one, we had a delay of game right after the big 4th down conversion, the fake punt, had a delay of game for no reason whatsoever, when we just got ahead of ourselves and started celebrating too much for a big game rather than going and getting lined up, which I believe kept the Sooners out of the end zone. Now, would they have made a touchdown on that drive? Maybe not. But you backed yourselves up on something that you could have easily fixed by getting to the line and having a play ready to go and snapping the ball before the delay of game was called. That's one thing. How about going for it on 4th down in your own territory, giving Missouri the ball on the 40-some yard line? I can't remember exactly where they were, but putting them across the field. How about that? Giving them the ball on a 4th down conversion when you were up in this game by 2 scores. You were up 2 scores and you decided to go for it on 4th down in your own territory rather than pinning them back when the defense was performing well all game long. Instead, you pin the defense with their backs up against the wall. That is what I blame for the Oklahoma Sooners losing this game, not Jackson Arnold. And I don't look at Jackson Arnold one bit for the loss. Now, yeah, you can look at him for a play, and really, like I said, you can blame him for 2 plays. Yeah, I know he only had 74 passing yards, but again, what was he supposed to have done with the ball? What options did we give Jackson Arnold? What routes were we putting our top 2 wide receivers in? Jalil Farouk and Deion Burks, what routes were we putting them on to put them in a good position for Jackson Arnold to find them? How many times did we throw it past 10 yards, 10 yards past the line of scrimmage? Because I could only count one time that we actually tried to pass the ball further than 10 yards down the field, outside of the 4th down fake punt. My point is, yes, Jackson Arnold did not have a good game, and I will not defend him saying that he had a good game or that, poor Jackson Arnold. But the fact that we're calling for a quarterback's head and for his spot to be removed from the team, to force this guy to just transfer out as if we have another option, seems absolutely crazy to me. Now, do we want to try to put Michael Hawkins back in the game and see what we can do? I'm not opposed to switching things up. I'm not opposed to even putting Casey Thompson in there just to see what he could do. But because at this point in the season, it really doesn't matter. I guess we are fighting for one more win, hoping for bowl eligibility, but we at Oklahoma don't care about bowl eligibility. We care about those 9, 10, 11-win seasons, hoping for a 12-win season, going on for a championship, going on to make the playoffs and win a national championship. That's what we care about here at Oklahoma. We don't care about 6 wins. And so at this point, no, I don't really care so much about that 6th win, although it does mean a lot. It does mean something, not a lot, but it does mean something. But it doesn't really mean that much when it boils down to the University of Oklahoma. So I don't blame Jackson Arnold for this loss. I blame the offensive play call, the game plan. I blame overall just the coaching in general, because it does come down to Brent Venables and some of the decisions made as well, like a 4th down, going for it on 4th down and not converting, giving them the chance to go down and score and capitalize off of that. And then also, of course, going for it, that fumble situation at the end of the game for Jackson Arnold that turned into a scoop and score should have never been a scenario if we would have just ran the ball, waste the clock, and go into overtime. That would have never been the case. Or if you just simply, lay a very simple and fast, quick game plan out for Jackson Arnold rather than forcing him to try to make a play out of nothing. Or how about we move the pocket where he seems to be extremely efficient and able to find guys downfield? We haven't done enough of that. Moving the pocket, allowing him to have more time, and then also giving him, when you move that pocket, it gives him more of an opportunity to find an open seam in the middle of the field somewhere, or on the outside of the field, it should be, where he's able to, now that he's already on the move, be able to easily transition into just running it down the field and just gaining yards. And I mean, all of these things revolve around the coaching. I don't really see anything that I can sit there and blame Jackson Arnold specifically for outside of what was controlled by the coaches. Now, yes, you can't blame the coaches for him fumbling the ball. I understand that. But you also can't blame him for fumbling the ball when he shouldn't have had the ball in his hands to begin with. Or just the simple fact that we should not have ran the ball only 17 times with the two backs that were running very efficiently and able to gain 4 yards, over 4 yards each and every carry, consistently on average. So, no, I don't blame Jackson Arnold for the loss against Missouri. I don't blame Jackson Arnold really for any of the losses. I suppose you can probably blame him, with an exception to that Tennessee game. I do think you can probably blame him for that a little bit. But again, simplifying the game plan for him, making plays, drawing up plays that fit Jackson Arnold's, his play type and his strengths, that would have helped in that game even. So to call for Jackson Arnold to leave, to not understand the potential around his ability, and to simply just call for his head all in all, just to remove him from the entire team as if he is no good, as if he's never shown any kind of glimmer of hope, seems a little crazy to me. But I'd love to hear from you guys what you think about Jackson Arnold going forward. Hey Sooner fans, did you enjoy this video? Well, go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What are you doing if you've made it this far and haven't already? You should be able to find that subscribe button over here. And then if you want to see full episodes, we've got those up here and clips right down here. So go check that out. But we thank you all so much for all the love, all the support. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.